Right. So, what we discussed in the last session about the basic part in context to the architectural perspective, the basic understanding I have explained in the last session, wherein today I'm going to explain you about an enterprise view because enterprise architecture is something which normally we implement. So, when we
Mhm.
are implementing solution architecture, we need to know enterprise architecture also, but not in detail. But of course, there are different frameworks we are using. Earlier, we used to have some Jackman framework. Now we are using some TOGAF, all that. There are some architectural development method principles we have, ADM principles and all, and high level understanding those are essentially required or useful to you when we are moving towards solution side. Because there are different models we use, something like C4 model. So these are the different models we normally use to develop solutions. In that
Okay.
process of understanding, first of all, we must be knowing about an enterprise view. Because if you remember in the yesterday session, I have given you about enterprise architecture on a high level understanding. I have told you four things. One is about the business architecture part, second, application systems and data architecture. So this is where generally an enterprise view is. And you can relate this to any customer, right? Irrespective of the domain they belongs to, either it can be banking, financial services, it can be healthcare, it can be of any organization. Any organization have these many things. Organization will have some business decisions to be taken. These business decisions to be implemented, they require some strategy. Strategic business decisions to expand their business and services are needed for any organization. Okay, I'm not specifying any one domain here. So business decisions are important. It's to implement those business decisions. There are some strategies which they normally built upon. So there are required strategies they wants to build. To implement the business strategies and all, they required some kind of manpower is needed. For that, you required some systems applications followed by the data. So all these were interconnected. Data management, systems, applications, strategy, people, as well as the business decisions. All these are interconnected to implement in the real world. So there are some interconnectivities when we are understanding about enterprise architecture. All these were interconnected. Either it can be a business architecture or systems, applications, data, all that. All these things are interconnected. So first thing what we need to know is, first of all, we must be knowing about the business architecture first. Okay. This is where generally the business architecture stands for. You can see. Okay, this is what generally we call it as business architecture. You can see over here. This is what generally business architecture consists of. Any organization, when we want to understand about any business, you must be knowing about these things. First, you must be knowing about the kind of customers as well as the competitors, the business they were in. If you take any financial institution, who are their customers? Because financial institutions or banks may have different services. Banking and financial services they may provide, or they may be providing some portfolio management or asset management services, or it can be investment banking related or any corporate banking, right? So different services they provide. So for them, what kind of customers are they dealing with, and to whom they are partnered with, right? So who are their competitors? That is something we need to know when it comes to the business architecture. Point number one. Point number two, we must be knowing about the policies, procedures, rules, and regulations of the organization. What is that something need to understand? What are the different policies, rules, and regulations which they follow? Next, we need to know about the vision, strategies, and tactics because any organization we have these things. First, let me write on here. Any organization you see, any enterprise, more or less, you can say, organization either has some vision first. Vision is the first one. To reach that vision, what mission statement they have, right? That is important here. Next, we must be knowing about the objectives and goals that they want to achieve. So, for that, what are the strategies they want to implement, followed by tactics. So these are interrelated, okay? Because any vision an organization will be having, to reach that vision, generally, yeah. So we'll have to understand about the vision first. We need to know about the mission part. Next, we need to know about what are the different objectives and goals as we have, etc. So followed by this, what are the different strategies that we need to follow, followed by the tactics. This is all part of business understanding. As far as the architecture is concerned, these are all interconnected. So what vision, strategies, tactics do they have? So why are these important? Again, when you're talking about the business goals and objectives, again, we can categorize it into two different parts. One is about short-term level and as well as long-term objectives and goals. Short-term objectives and goals on day-to-day operations that we want to perform. When it comes to the long-term objectives, this is completely based upon the kind of business strategy or the decisions that we have taken. So that is something different when you are trying to understand this. So this is something we need to know. So this is something which we need to know. This is one thing which is called as business architecture. That is something we need to know. This is point number one. So after the business architecture, strategies, goals, etc., all that stuff. Next one about the products and services. What are the different products and services we have? So that we need to know.
Hello.
Yeah, sorry. 1 minute. Please be online for it. Right, sorry. Right. So what are the different products and services that we have that we need to know? Right. What are the different products and services they offer? And what are the different initiatives as well as the projects that they were performing, followed by what are the different metrics and measurements that they are using to, because they want to evaluate the performance. Okay, so what are the performance evaluation, everything they have to do. So what are the different metrics, measurements, what are the decisions that uh, what are the decisions and as well as the kind of events that they want to be taken, everything will be part of business architecture. So business architecture is one of the key and important word when we are trying to understand about enterprise architecture point of view. This is one thing which one must be good with. Next, we need to know about the architectural vision. This is important because when you trying to understand about ADM principles, practices as part of the enterprise architecture framework, either as an example, I can say TOGAF framework. Okay, TOGAF is an EA framework we are using. This consists of these many things. We have architectural vision as place, point number one. Second, we'll be having business architecture, as I told you. Third is about information systems architecture, followed by the technology architecture and all. Next one about opportunity solutions, migration planning, implementation governance, and architectural change management. So these are the different elements are part of TOGAF framework when we are implementing. So because to implement these, because end of the day, managing the requirements will be the highest priority. Because when it comes to the solution that we are developing, we need to manage the requirements. What are the requirements we may be having? Because these requirements will be translated into functional and non-functional requirements in later stages. So the detailed understanding over the requirements classification is one of the key and important point one to be addressed with. So there are different requirements one to be known with. Right? So these requirements, which normally we call it as requirement classification. First of all, this is important. So requirement classification is important. Point number one. When it comes to the as far as requirement management is concerned, I'm saying this. Okay. As far as requirement management is concerned, requirement classification is important. When you're talking about requirement classification, the first one about the business requirements. Second one is called stakeholder or end user requirements. Third one is called transitional requirements. Fourth one is called solution requirements. Fifth one is called regulatory requirements. Okay, these are the different requirements that we need to classify as far as the requirement management is concerned. By implementing this ADM principles, all these are the requirements that are to be classified. One is business requirements, first one. Second, stakeholder or end user requirements. Third one about the transitional, solution, and regulatory requirements. Business requirements, as I already mentioned you, based upon the business architecture, what are the business goals, mission they want to achieve? Because end of the day, return of investment is the highest priority. Because what solution we have given, that should provide a value addition to the organization. It should provide some return of investment for the end user or a customer. Then only that the solution has a value. So business requirements is the first point. Second, stakeholder or end user requirements. Stakeholder or end user requirements majorly focusing on end user perspective. What end user want? What kind of features or what kind of functionalities customer is expecting by comparing the old systems to the new system? Because some projects we are transforming from old legacy systems to the new cloud applications or something that we do. Or in some occasions, majority of the occasions nowadays you see there are products available, whichever the products that are available over here. So we are configuring the product by understanding the business rules and government mandates. For example, uh, I'll give you two examples, 2 to 3 examples I can give. For example, if you take core banking, okay, core banking an example, we have a product called Finacle. You might be heard of it. Finacle is a product that is by Infosys, right? So that's a product. It's a core banking product. Even FlexCube, it's powered by Oracle and all, right? So there are banks, right? So which is of TCS. These are all the payment gateway related stuff and payment core banking related products. These are all the products which are used for integration purpose. These are the products are already there. So what we are doing here, we are customizing it. We are customizing according to the organization. We are customizing. If you want to customize what is needed, either it can be user interface level customizations or something. One, to understand about the business rules. What are the different business rules we have? What are the different project rules we have? What are the different government mandates do we have, right? So necessary changes need to do, right? So you need to understand the exposure rules. Exposure rules means the kind of risk that is associated there. So based upon those rules that we have identified, you need to update those rules, and we have to make some necessary changes so that end user can understand, end user can use this product effectively. Because product is already built, you are not developing any solution. Again, I'm repeating, you are not developing any solution from the scratch in this regard. As far as the example I'm saying, I have taken. The product is available. What are the features, modules we have, everything will remains intact. But what we are doing is we are customization, because we are customizing or we are configuring. There are two things. One is configuration, second is integration. We are doing configuration, right? So from the configuration perspective, because we have to configure the product according to the business rules that we require to change. So those business rules based upon the requirement and interest of the stakeholder or an end user. This is point number two. The third one about transitional requirements. Transitional requirements means state of transition from old system to the new system. This is where transitional requirements we try to understand between two things. One is state of transition. Old system to new system, okay, or a targeted system, whatever you can call it, okay, new system. This old system is called as is. This we must be known as is. The new system is called to, right? So this is where generally transitional part, because most of the projects now and then we can see, especially as in when you are a cloud professional, you know, right? So many projects are moving towards cloud environment. They are transitioning from old system to the new system. Either it can be the legacy systems, the old legacy systems to the cloud environment, or legacy to the infrastructure related applications, irrespective of anything. Right? So transitional state of transition, that is what we call it as gap analysis. Normal means understanding the gap between as is and to be. Transitional state means what exactly the existing system is, how it is performing, what are the features and functionalities followed by the infrastructure it was already have existed, and how different the solution that you need to provide now means target system. How different is this? Are we is this enough for us to add some new features and functionalities to the existing stuff, or is there something you need to develop it from the scratch? That we need to know. This is where we call it as transitional requirements transfer, means state of transition from old system to the new system. That's what we call it as transitional requirements, is something we need to know. Next, after transitional requirements, the next one is called solution requirements. Solution requirement, this is where all these things are comes into picture. Being into solution architect, we'll be focusing on this area, not in the business level, not on the end user level. Being a solution architect, I'm addressing this. Okay, solution architecture. So solution architecture, we have to focus on these areas. One is on the functional side. Second is on the non-functional side. Solution, what features, what functional requirements, what non-functional requirements. Again, non-functional requirements, performance, scalability, load balancing, fault tolerance. All these are comes under this. Last but not least, regulatory requirements. What are the standards, policies? Yesterday, I have given this example. If you remember, HIPAA example I have given. Standards, policies.
GDPR will also come under this.
Sorry?
GDPR will also come under this.
Yeah, it's part of the regulatory standards only, right? Regulatory GDPR standards, right? All these things are comes under regulatory requirements. So when try to understand about the requirements classification being into the solution architect level, so our major focus will be majorly on the non-functional side. This non-functional side will be associated even with the regulatory standards also, because standards may vary from organization to organization, or the kind of systems which they are using, or what kind of organization is this, because some people follow some quality standards and something like CMM level, Six Sigma standards. So they follow different standards they follow, either in the administrative level or by what are the kind of systems that they are using, or the kind of applications that they uses, everything. So they have their own standards to follow. So we being into solution architect, our focus should be on these two areas. One is on the non-functional side, second is on the regulatory side, not on the functional side. Okay, because functional side, why am I not saying about? Because these functionalities will be turned as a business logic by writing the code for the particular one by the developer, because developer has already written a code over there. So as a solution architect, sometimes we have to do some code review that is needed, because normally solution architects are usually people who have some programming side, right? Programming side experience and all, so that I don't get into all that. But end of the day, review of the code, what quality of code a team has reviewed, team has developed so far. That review of the code is something we need to focus more from the functional point of view. Turn into functional side, turn into coding side. That's where our focus must be. But major focus will be on the non-functional side, because we never get into the transitional state and all. But when there is observation required, when you need to identify the performance, because some solutions we are providing transitional due to the major difficulty of performance. Performance will also be, performance and accuracy might also be the highest priority sometimes. So non-functional area, it is somewhere directly or indirectly, we will be connecting to the transitional side, because many projects are migrating. So the transitional part, non-functional side, where our focus must be by performing code review. So at the same time, how this can be visualized, how you are representing this, and how you are visualizing the requirements, how you are visualizing the model. For example, you will be knowing about different UML models we are using, UML diagram, something like use case diagrams we have sequence diagrams, we have component diagrams, we have deployment diagrams, how this can be deployed, right? So what are the deployment standards, procedures that we follow? What are the different hardware and software components that we are using? At the same time, what are the class diagrams as well as object diagrams? So this visualization will be part of solution architecture. By, of course, underlined point is what kind of techniques and what kind of models we are using. Prominent model is called C4. C4 is a prominent model which normally we are using. So C4 model is one kind of model, I can say, more or less like one kind of model we are using. So, but visualization is something you need to know, right? From the non-functional side, by understanding the performance scalability and all, how this can be visualized, how the logic that represented by the technical team, how this can be elevated to the next level by implementing the required standards, procedures. Everything will be part of requirements classification. So, business solution architect side, if you try to understand, this is the area where we have to be focused more. Understood, Samrat? Clear? Samrat,
Yes.
clear?
Yeah.
Right, so this is the part. Now, the next one about whatever I have discussed with you so far about requirement management side. At the same time, what are the different ADM principles do we have? Architectural vision or something like. But first, you must be knowing about this part, because if you know about this, because we are not going in detail about enterprise architecture, repeating the same. We are not detailing about TOGAF framework or something. It deviates usually. So, but it is always evident and important for us to understand about these things well, because business architecture, I told you, you need to know about enterprise architecture vision or information systems architecture or technology architecture. This part I am going to discuss tomorrow. Okay, today we have a very little time I have taken. Tomorrow I'll discuss about more about the requirement management first. Clear, Samra? Understood?
Yes, Raj.
Go ahead, please. Please carry. You're asking something? Go ahead. Samrat, you're asking something. Please go ahead.